What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Talking Elite Fitness. I'm Sean Woodland, being joined by Tommy Marquez. Tommy, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. We got two more weekends of football left.
Uh,
National champion just happened. We're
mhm.
getting ready for Wadapalooza week. There's
Yep.
all sorts of good stuff. And yeah.
Opens right around the corner.
Hmm.
Lauren is not here tonight, obviously. Is she in
Inter-
Florida now? She was in Vegas for the SHOT Show.
yep.
And now
I
I think
think
she's either in transit or has arrived in the Sunshine State.
I think she is in transit, and I know that there's been some issues with flights getting
Oh,
in
no.
because there's been snow in the southeast.
Yes, there's been snow in Florida. That place is going to shut down. They are not
Yeah,
equipped for that
definitely
at
not.
all. Drivers there are bad enough as it is. You put them on snowy roads, it's going to be Mad Max Fury Road. Not good. Okay. We have a couple things we want to talk about today. We're obviously going to preview the individual side of Wadapalooza. And we'll talk about some of the other just news things going on, specifically with the Open and the CrossFit Games season. But before we do that, we want to thank one of our sponsors for today, and that is Thirdzy and their Rest and Recovery Collagen. It will help you optimize your sleep and your recovery. And all you have to do is mix it in 8 ounces of water at night before you go to bed. You chug it, tastes great. It helps calm your central nervous system with ingredients like GABA, L-theanine, and magnesium. It helps you get to sleep faster, stay asleep longer, and wake up more refreshed. And I know you now, as a father of a young child, have a brand new appreciation for how effective the Thirdzy Rest and Recovery Collagen actually is.
And if you're sitting there at home thinking, "Well, hey, wait, I work a weird hours of the night. I'm a night shift or graveyard or swing shift. Why would I take Thirdzy at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m.?" Well, I can tell you firsthand that if you decide to finally go to bed at 3 or 4 a.m. and slam some Thirdzy, and you only have like 4 or 5 hours to sleep until you got to be ready for the next day, and that's your only window, still works wonders.
It does.
Actually, it has been a lifesaver for me. The only reason
Right.
I'm able to work out basically at this point because of the sleep that I'm getting when I switch shifts with my wife.
Mhm.
She makes me some Thursday. I slam it, hit the pillow, out.
Great. Love it. Yeah. Thirdzy.com. That's THIRDZY.com/TEF. 20% off added automatically to your order. And you will optimize the way you sleep and the way that you recover. And you're going to get up feeling great every morning after taking Thirdzy. So big thanks to Thirdzy for supporting the show. Please go support them. Thirdzy.com/TEF. Okay, let's talk about the first thing that we want to get to, and that is open registration. So open registration is underway, and our good friend Mike Halpin
Hmm.
has been tracking this as they do, as he and the Morning Chalk Up have done for the past couple years. They've tracked open registration and how it's related to years in the past. So I'm going to pop this up here. So this is his latest thing. This is as of today, or the 21st, I believe. So this is the latest one. We're recording this on Wednesday night. But right now, well, at this point, at the snapshot, Mike says that we have 20,728 registrants. That's on the sixth day of registration. So on the sixth day of registration, just 1 year ago, we had 41,499. So that's nearly a 50% decrease. And that has pretty much fluctuated a little bit over the first 6 days. Sometimes a little bit higher than 50%, sometimes a little bit lower, but that has more or less maintained. So if that were to continue, let's just say it's a 50% drop. We're at what, 160-ish?
And I want to say, is he also calculating like days from end too? Like he's factoring in, like it's not like day six of registration is important, but like how many days until registration closes?
I'm not
Is
sure if he's
I
doing,
I
I'm just
I,
going by
I
what I'm reading here.
yeah, I wanna say there was he also had a way to account for that. Like, so, like, this number and, like, the disparity
Mhm.
also, takes a look at, like, the end of the graph is at the same point, like, the graph ends at the same spot,
Right. Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Well, so am I right about that? How many do we have last year? Like three, 300,000 something?
Yeah, 323, 333, something like that.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay. So that would be about 160, right?
Yeah.
If that held. And I don't know if it will or not, because as you can see, if you're watching this, the graph that Mike has, there's always that spike towards the end. Now,
Mhm.
that's usually because people see that first workout, they see the open, they get fired up, like, oh God, I got to register before I do the workout. And they do it. So you get that spike at the end. And you usually have like a pretty big when we were working there, I always remember like first couple days it was like went up pretty high, then it tailed off.
Yep.
This was just sort of a steady little line that goes up and to the right. But the bigger thing that I wanted to talk about here is the concernometer, something that the athletic, I'm stealing from the athletic. They always do it this about
Yeah.
it. Where's the concernometer right now at this point of the season for your specific team? Um, I, I guess, and I'll start. So my concern right now is not necessarily the fact that there are fewer people who have signed up, because I think everyone expected that. That's not a shock. My concern is this a further, does this, what's the wording I'm looking for? Does this like go beyond this and mean that people are no longer interested in the sport?
Mm.
And I
Yeah.
don't know if that's the case. And I think we'll get those answers pretty quickly. Tier Wadapalooza starts tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we'll see what that atmosphere is like there. It's like the atmosphere on site in SoCal for Cheer Wadapalooza SoCal was really good. And that was shortly after what happened at the games. But what do the numbers look like online? Like what's the appetite that people have? And that's where my concern is. So my concern, I don't know if I put a number on it, but that my concernometer is like right in the middle right now. Because I don't think
Yeah.
this is unexpected that there was a drop. I think everybody knew there was going to be a drop. It's like, what's the
Mine might
collateral damage?
mine might be a little bit further than that, mainly because of some of the metrics that have been published over the last couple of years.
Mhm,
So CrossFit it had, I think it was CrossFit, and I think maybe even Halpin himself too, were discussing about like the makeup of the open registrants year over year,
mhm,
and how like a certain percentage of new people were coming to the table, right? As far as like registering for the open, signing up, all of that. And one thing that was a bit concerning from that was the number of people that weren't returning, right?
okay. Yeah,
The
yes.
retention rate, if or the churn rate, depending on how you look at it.
Mhm,
That would give me more pause for concern if we do see that 50% get lopped off,
mhm,
because you have now you've now cut back on the one valuable growth metric that you had in getting new people on board. And if you can't do that because either A, those new people just aren't coming through your own like sheer incompetence, or B, those new people were very quickly off put by what happened this past year,
mhm,
then you're like, ooh, okay, so you're not keeping the people that you had. You aren't generating enough new people to overcome that,
mhm.
which they were able to do in the past, which is, like, hey, you could say, hey, we're growing in all these different areas of the globe. Like progress has slowed in the US, progress has slowed maybe a couple other places, but in Europe, in Asia, in South Latin America, we're blowing up. So that's fine. Like we're okay with that.
Mhm,
Um, if you don't get that significant bump from new people this year, and you haven't been keeping the people that you convinced to sign up year over year for the last 4 or 5 years, which has kind of been the case, then my concernometer goes up, right?
mhm,
Because they have been they've been able to at least withstand like quote unquote bad news to a certain degree in the past.
mhm.
All the changes just got, when all the changes got dropped on everybody into 2018, and even still, like, registration dropped a little bit, it still got a nice surge above what it was last year, actually, because the last minute, like FOMO, whatever.
Mhm.
But then you could almost hear the pin drop in the room when everyone turned on the first open announcement, and it was like, wait, this is what we're getting.
Yeah.
And then the games happened, and then so once there was like less than savory thing stacked on less than savory thing, that's when it really started to take a negative toll. And that's when you saw the significant decrease in open registration for 2020. You also couple that with, I guess you would say maybe like fatigue, right? From people having to do multiple opens in the
Yeah.
same calendar year.
'Cause
And
that's
that
when
was
it
just,
moved to October for people who don't know. Like, that
yeah,
year we had the open in February, and
Yep.
then they do the regular season, and then at the end of 2019, going into the COVID season, they had the Open in October, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Uh and that and so like once you had these like in multiple scenarios people walked away unsatisfied uh for with the product that was put out, and then you asked them to sign up very quickly again. That's when I was like, people really like, nah, I think I'll pass this time.
Mhm.
And it took, and you had to start convincing new people to come back to the table in the subsequent years when it seemed like there was changes that were going to be for good. Now you have this scenario where you're dropping a lot of news on people last minute, whether it's changes to the season, changes to the rule book, adjustments. There are a lot of people that I think are dissatisfied with the result with what's come out from CrossFit regarding Lazar's situation and the tragedy that happened at the games. And it's like, how many of these blows can you withstand and keep pushing forward? My concern meter is definitely a little bit more. I'm nervous for this, right?
Yeah.
And I think and I also don't think it's gonna go over that well that people feel like the buck's getting passed to them to fund the prize purse when they've never had to do that before.
Well, that's a great segue because that's something that I wanted to address. So let's say best case, let's say at this point they're tracking to about, if the 50% drop holds, somewhere between 160, 170,000.
Yeah.
Let's say they get a bump at the end because they announced something cool with the Open. They're going to do Open announcements as we know them. That gets
Yeah.
people kind of fired up, and then that gets bumped up to, let's call it somewhere right around 200,000 people. So what that would do to the game's payout is that the first place individual would make $245,000. So that is a more than 100K decrease from where it has been. Second gets 49, third gets 39, fourth would get 34, fifth would get a little more than 17,000. And then, it drops down from there. But 20th place would get $2,450. And then anybody beyond 20th doesn't get paid. So, online semifinals, first place gets 7,500. So there's a significant drop, as you mentioned, in the prize money here. If that, you know, were to happen. And right now, 200,000, the way that this is tracking would look like, where do I sign if you're CrossFit? Like, can I get that rate? Like, could you guarantee me that right now? They'd probably take that deal if they could get 200K.
Mhm. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think that if they are able to announce some things with the Open about, hey, we're gonna and I know I've been told off the record that there is going to be something. I've talked to somebody who kind of is involved, I think, with one of them. So I think there are going to be Open announcements. Now, whether or not those are going to look like the Open announcements that we all know and love, I don't know. As you mentioned, I think one of the things that was really the bucket of cold water of reality in the community's face when all those changes were made in 2019 were the Open announcements. Because, and I don't say this trying to point fingers at the people who put them on, but they did the best they could with what they had, but it was clearly not to the level of what people were used to.
Yeah.
So hopefully there's some good news coming with that. But that's where we are right now. It's still early, but 50% decrease from last year, which I think is more than I thought it would be.
Yeah. Um, yeah, that's tough. What was the let me go back and find it. Let's see. Yeah. The I mean, like, if this is the case, if say we hit half, right?
Mhm.
160, whatever it may be, like, the payouts for second through the remainders, like, are less than that of non-CrossFit Games events,
Mhm.
right? Like, that now then that's the echelon that you're
Yeah.
competing with. And so,
Right.
like, does the games become the biggest drawing point?
I
And
don't
then
know.
if the best athletes, if like the best athletes aren't pursuing that anymore, what does that do to the claim of fittest on earth?
Well, I think look, we've always said if someone's injured or not there, it's who's the fittest on earth at that point, at that time, who's there, you know. But I get what you're saying. If someone's not healthy and just decides not to compete, like, it does sort of erode that claim a little bit.
Yeah,
Um,
it's like you become the Houston Rockets, right? Like the 2 years that Jordan was gone, you're like, yeah, you're the NBA champs, but
right. Yeah.
King, the King's going to come back and things are
Mhm.
going to change,
Yeah.
and they did.
Well, there's something that we'll definitely keep an eye on. But speaking of the game season, another piece of news that came out was
Yeah.
that there is going to be allegedly a last chance or last chance qualifier. I don't want to say online, last chance qualifier. This was, let me call up the morning chalk up article here that
Steve.
the post that they had. So this was a couple days ago, but the post on Instagram from Morning Chalk Up reads: a third pathway to the 2025 CrossFit Games leaked, last chance qualifier. And they write, just as we thought we might finally know all of the details of the 2025 CrossFit Games season qualification process, another detail has been leaked. One final man and one final woman will have the opportunity to earn their invite at the 2025 games through a quote last chance qualifier, or at least that's what we think is the case. It was leaked by Rich Froning on Monday during a conversation with Roy McKernan, old Captain Handsome, on the CrossFit, I spelled his name wrong, on the CrossFit Mayhem podcast. This is the quote. Yeah, they're doing a last chance qualifier this year too, Froning said, to which McKernan said, there's a last chance qualifier. After that, there was an awkward moment before Froning added, I don't know if that's announced, but I'm pretty sure. Whoops. So, that's out there, but it tracks with what we know about the qualifying spots, because we were trying to speculate. It looks like there was, when you looked at all the spots available and who was coming from where, there were like two that were still up for grabs in person, and no one knew what that was going to be. So now it looks like there's an online qualifier. Now, most likely it is going to be online because that's how they've done this in the past. I actually like the last chance qualifier. I think it's a good thing. I
Yeah.
just, and we've talked about this before. This is the problem that I have with piecemealing information out, is that, that information vacuum gets filled with stuff. And then B, it's like, you have this slow trickle of things that come out and you don't know when you're done.
Mhm.
And it felt like we were kind of done with the in-person stuff, and they say, oh wait, now this is going to happen. Now it hasn't been officially announced, but I would like for these things to be all announced at one time, so we have the full picture of the season, everything all at once. But I guess there's just this desire to get things out there so people have stuff to talk about, as opposed to let's wait and just get everything out there.
Well, it's also like what again, I don't have anything against the information itself that there is a last
No,
chance
I like it.
qualifier, but I have there's like, why is this the way that we're getting it again?
Mhm.
It's and this is nothing against Rich and the
Oh,
Mayhem crew, but like, why isn't CrossFit telling us this? Why is this information out there? Maybe it's not decided yet, but then why is
possibly.
this information distributed to some people and not everybody?
Yeah.
Like who like and maybe that's wrong, but we don't know. Honestly don't know who has this information, who doesn't,
Mhm.
and how impactful that information is for people who have it, right? Given the details.
Well, just,
It's
and that's the thing, you don't have leaks if you get everything out. Just get everything out all at once.
yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. But I would like to see that change. Like, just give me the whole picture. Don't give me a little bit of one. And then that just, you take that info that you get and you're going to use that as a jumping off point to try to figure out what else is going on.
Well,
And
it's like
sometimes you'll be wrong. Sometimes you're going to be right. Sometimes, like, it's just, let's just get it all out. Simple.
it's just like it's the same communication issues that have just plagued it for years. That's funny. It just popped in my head. Remember when people were complaining how like when leaks and things of this nature were happening when Castro was gone, and they're like, "Well, if Castro was here, it wouldn't happen." And you're like, "Well, it's more just it doesn't really
It's a
work like that."
systematic thing, really.
Yeah, it's a systematic thing. It doesn't like, yeah, I don't know.
Well,
Um,
I like the fact that I like the last chance qualifier. I
I
really,
do, I do. I've always loved like the idea of, hey, like one last shot, like
Mhm.
and awesome stories have come out of it. Tommy
Yeah.
Hackenberg, who finished second at the games as a nobody, who bummed a ride to the games in Aromas and was sleeping on the floor of someone's hotel that he was crashing it, like making the podium, and then his career takes off in the sport
Mhm.
from there. Like that changed his life.
Well, think
Like
about last year. We could have, like, Colton Mertens could have had a really good chance to make it in after the great showing he had in the West. Like, there are these athletes where it's like, yeah, we got to give that guy or that woman one more shot to
Mhm.
get in. And they've done it in the past. I've enjoyed it. I like the fact that they're going to have it. I'm assuming it is going to be online. I can't imagine this being like a live in person competition, because now you're asking these athletes to travel yet again. Um,
Mhm.
and the odds are, if you're in the last chance qualifier, I think the Tommy Hackenberg case is very much the exception to the rule. But if you're in that, you're not like in line for a very big payday. So most likely online. Um, but yeah, I like it. I think it's
Yeah,
it adds a lot of drama and a lot of intrigue.
I agree, and like, yeah, it provides a cool opportunity. Like the storyline from that alone is like, hey, you get another shot. Like, what are you going to do with it,
Mhm.
right? And how are you going to make the most of it? But it's also like, hey, we have athletes signing up for the Open right now for the season that don't know all of the ways to get there.
Yeah, I know. I know. Well, maybe more stuff will come out, but
I hope CrossFit is a massive platform. Like, use it.
yeah. Well, I think the next things that need to, in my book, that need to come out is like what's going on with open announcements. Like, what's that going to look like? Because if you're
Yeah,
looking to get people excited and get them, like I believe that the open announcements do help generate excitement and get people to want to sign up.
for sure.
They have really no bearing on anybody as far as like affecting the way you perform in a workout, but it is it's cool when you see it and then you see the athletes go at it and they set the mark like, oh, okay, yeah, I want to give that a try. I want to sign up. Like I think it just helps generate enthusiasm for it. So that to me should be the next thing that comes out sooner rather than later.
Mhm.
So maybe generate a little bit of excitement, get people talking about some good stuff around the open, and we'll go from there. But that's
Like,
go ahead.
yeah, we're at a month and a like 30 37 days from the start of the Open.
Hmm.
We're a month away.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's just, I don't know. The communication aspect of it and how the season changes have been delivered feels like a regression for sure.